so let's get started. So welcome to the webinar. I'm Jana Kramer of US SEO Services, and I've been doing SEO and online marketing for over 10 years. And most of you probably have seen me show up in your LinkedIn for a while now. So let me just give you a quick breakdown of how I do SEO for my clients and what I'm doing. So I do it for local SEO, I do it nationwide, I do e-commerce, small business, and I do it for a variety of niches. Some people ask me if I'm very specific about the kind of niche or industry that I work with, and I do it for a huge variety of things. So just for example, like business services, consulting services, like accountants, attorneys. I've done health industry, doctors, dentists, mental health. I've done a huge variety of construction, even commercial, residential, painters, paving, air conditioning, construction equipment, flooring. I mean, I could go on all day. I've done it for appraisals and insurance, and I've also done it for e-commerce, selling things like kitchen products or pets or gifts, things like that. And that's just to mention a small handful there. And I've created this method that gets me enough clients, and I make over $30,000 a month. So look and see here. I'm going to share with you some of my financial statements from PayPal showing this income, that this method has grown. And of course, I've blurred out my account info here, but you can see that after just 3 or 4 months of doing it this way, once I got it down, once I got the method down, my income grew pretty quickly up to about $8,000 a month. And within another 6 months, that grew to over $15,000 a month. And then you can see that it grew up to over about $20,000 a month, and then now I've been making over $30,000 or more a month. And that's not per year, that's per month. And I'm going to be honest right here, because this method came about because I'm not an aggressive salesperson. So this method can fit for anyone. So if you're not great at sales, this is definitely going to help you out a lot. If you are great, it's just going to help you out even more and make it even easier for you. So give me something in the chat to let me know that you're excited and you want to find out how I do this. So give me a one in the chat. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so yeah, just showing that you're with me and you're ready to check this out. Awesome, here we go. So I've had several people ask me over the years how I created my SEO company and just how I've kept it going for so long and made it successful. And they want to know all the details, like what do you do every day and how do you keep it growing and going? And a lot of times people are asking me to be really specific about, what do you say to people? What are you saying? And who should I connect with? And what do you message to people? Like, what are you actually putting in the messages? And they want to know how it works. So what I did is I ended up creating a course because it's a lot of, good information, but I wanted to not just, blurt it out or be vague. I wanted to be very specific, and it takes you by the hand to show you specifically exactly what I do. I'm going to show you a little bit today, but in the course it's a lot more detail. So I'm going to give you some of those kind of behind the scenes secrets. Now, since I'm in SEO, I've geared my course toward SEO, and I'm going to be talking about it in that way a little bit today just because I do SEO, but really anybody can do this for any business. So, for example, if you're in a different industry, like a business consultant of some sort, or construction, or an attorney or accountant, or just any small business, you can follow along and do this for your business as well. And after you watch this, or if you take the course, you're going to come to realize that, I've used this method on some of you that are here today. So you can tell it worked. So you're here. That's how we know that it worked. So also, I'm going to open up the chat and the Q&A. So, we're going to go through all the information. I think that would be the easiest thing to do for me to go through it. And then if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A or the chat. And then at the end, we'll go over those questions that might come up. I can answer questions that you have. Now, this can work for you whether you're already on LinkedIn or you're just getting started. And I use Sales Navigator. You can do it with a basic LinkedIn account, but that does make it harder. It makes it much harder because there's no organization to just a basic LinkedIn account. Sales Navigator does a lot of things that a basic LinkedIn account just can't do. And so it's been very helpful. So give me a 3 in the chat if you can use basic LinkedIn, but Sales Navigator makes it easier to do it more successfully. Give me a 3 in the chat if you get that. Okay, good. Okay. So let me get mine pulled up here so you can check it out. So I pulled up Sales Navigator here. I just wanted you to see that the price is about $99 a month, but it's definitely worth it for the organization and all the things you can do with it to narrow down your niches and connections and your messaging and different things like that. There's a lot of tools that you can use in it, so it's definitely worth it. You can pay annually or you can pay monthly, but it's definitely worth it to have for sure. So let's see. I was trying to get my window pulled up here. So here is, let me get to my profile here just so you can see. So again, most of you have your account set up, and you should know with sales that the first thing you need to do is you need to make a good impression. So you need to make sure that you have a profile picture or a logo. I put my picture there so people know who they're talking to when they reach out to me. Some people put their logo. You can do either one, and then having a good cover picture to kind of give people a mental image, a visual picture of what you do, what you offer. So, or at the very least, just a nice professional background would be good. But using every little thing that you can to tell people and get across to people what you do is, the best thing. Lead them, take them by the hand, show them where to go, show them what to do, different things like that. So making sure that you've got that filled out, and also, filling out your profile as best you can as well. You want to make sure that you have all the information on there, like your website links. You've got, this, I have a shout out to people for my course, people to book a Zoom. You can book an appointment with me. You can get to my contact information here. People can visit my websites, they can call, they can email, they have the information. So you want to make sure that you have a thoroughly filled out profile, because that way people have all the information that they need to determine, do you do what I'm looking for? How do I get in touch with you? And so people do search on LinkedIn for different services and things. And if you're reaching out to them through LinkedIn, they're going to want to check out your profile. And if they come to one that has an empty picture and no information, they're just going to be like, nah, I don't trust that. And they're going to click off and not pay any attention to what you have to say. So taking the time to do this is definitely beneficial and worth it. Filling out your description, putting your services on there, being active on it. I'll go over that in a minute. People can endorse you on here and tell you, share with others, their experience, their positive experience with you, different things like that. So it's really good to get your profile all filled out and strong. And again, making sure you put a good, legit phone number where somebody can reach you, because a lot of people put numbers on there and they go back and update it and make sure that it's correct, or it's a number that they never really answer, and then they complain that they don't get calls and their business isn't growing. So you need to make sure that you got it all filled out and decent. Now you need to make sure that you start making connections. You have to determine who your audience is going to be, and that's who you're going to sell to. These are people that you need to put that focus on making connections with, because you're going to send out some new invites and make new connections each day. And before you know it, you're going to have a really good amount of people that you're connected with and that you can work with. And again, I've been doing this for a long time. That when it hits 500, it just shows over 500, and I have loads of followers and things. So you just need to make sure that you're in good shape as working on your connections. And again, I'm going to show you how to do that. It's not like Facebook where you're trying to just gain as many as you can, friends and followers. It's about targeting the right people. So you're going to get invites from people to connect with, and that's great. You can accept those and, grow your connections. Welcome. Just let anybody connect with you would be great. And, sometimes people are very like, well, I don't know you. Well, you're not going to know every customer, are you? That's one thing that's kind of a pet peeve of mine is, people won't answer the phone, or they won't connect with someone, or they don't respond to messages and things like that because they have that vibe of, I don't know you, why are you talking to me? And they forget they're in business. They forget that you're a business owner and trying to get customers and clients. You do not know who your customers are going to be. You just don't. You're not psychic. You don't know who's going to call. So make sure that you're accepting and open when people are sending you invites and connections. And you might think, oh, they're trying to pitch me. You know what? Turn it around. Offer your services to them. Use them as a way of, you pitched me, but here's what I do. And maybe they know somebody that needs your services. You can always look for that sale. So don't be on the defense. You're on the offense. You're trying to score some points. You're trying to, gain that advantage and win, right? You're trying to become successful with this. So you have to be open-minded and intentional with it. So let's go over where we're going to find some good connections. So Put a 1 in the chat if you get this, that this is a method. It's not random. You have to be purposeful and intentional if you want to get your income higher, you want to grow your connections, you want to grow your business. This has to be an intentional act of running your business and gaining and growing sales. So put a 1 in the chat if you get it, that this is a method that, any business should have a method of gaining sales, right? So good. Okay, you're putting a 1 in the chat. Okay, good. Let me go over the daily management, quick chore kind of things. So what you're going to do is, I'll get to the connections here in just a second, but your daily management is important as well. So you want to make sure that you're staying on top of it, and it doesn't take too long to do, just every day, 15 to 20 minutes of your time. And I do it usually like Monday through Saturday. I'll take Sunday off because I'm busy going to church and all that with my family time and things like that. But Monday through Saturday, I do things on LinkedIn. And you have to do it every day. If you do it every day, it just takes, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes a day. So what you're going to do is you're going to, send out your new invites. You're going to accept new connections. You're going to make a new posts. And what I usually do is I usually share something. So let me get back to my profile here. So what I do is I share just something nice, something encouraging. I usually choose to share scripture or something, encouraging, something that's relevant, and positive and things like that, something that's good. So you can share whatever it is that you want to share. Some tell me, don't mix Jesus with business, but he's involved in everything I do. So I go ahead and post stuff like that. You can post whatever it is that you want. Just something, just that, hey, I'm a person and I'm here, and it's not always about work. It's just something encouraging and positive. And then later in the day, I do share something about work. I share something about SEO, something that's relevant to my industry, and making sure that way people can see that, oh, you know what you're talking about. You're relevant in your field. You know what's going on with it. You're sharing some good, helpful information. That's great. So you're just sharing a couple of posts, just easy peasy like you do on Facebook, sharing a couple of posts. And then I'll go through and check on my notifications. And so what I do is there's all kinds of ways that you can do this. There's, if you click on your notifications here, it's going to show things like you can like people's posts and things that they do, make a comment on it. Thanks for sharing. That was good information. Things like that, just something positive. And then there's also how you can go and share people's, if they have happy birthdays and things like that. And if you click on my network over here, you can click on catch up. Sometimes it'll show up in your notifications too. But you can see here, like, you can wish people congratulations on your work anniversary or happy birthday, and just doing that simple touch of that you've noticed them, it really makes it stand out. It means something. And you might not think it does. You might not think it makes a big deal, but just having that touch is an important thing to do. So I always go through, I make my personal post, and then I make a work post, something, relevant to my industry, and then I'll go through and wish people a happy work anniversary, happy birthday, things like that. And once I get to a certain point, I then begin reaching out to people that I think might benefit from my services. So you may be thinking at this point, that's all common sense, right? But some people don't know how important that can be, just something so simple. So give me a 2 if you're ready to get to the good stuff here in the chat. You ready for me to show you all the good stuff? Okay, good. All right, so how do you do it? How do I get people to pay attention to what I have to say and they want to hear more? How do I gain that trust to get people to ask me for advice or help, and that opens up the door to be able to offer my services? Well, there's a handful of parts to it, and I teach it all in my course, like I said, but there's a few main things that I do that I'm going to share my LinkedIn method with you now. And I've created this method of developing warm leads. Now, doing it the way that I do has brought pretty much immediate success and has drawn people in over time. So let's go over the connections real quick. So let me show you on how I do my connections with people. So I'm going to click on connections here. And then you can search with filters. So I'm going to click on search with filters, and it's going to do search with Sales Navigator. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do Sales Navigator searching. So if you look here, it pulls up people that you're connected with randomly. You can see here. But then over here on the left, it's going to show different options that you have to narrow it down on who you can search for. So you can do things like company headcount, for example, and you can choose to do like the smaller businesses or self-employed, or the smaller end. You don't really want to do the bigger end ones, because those people, they've got that many employees already, their business is going really well. It's like, I don't know, Walmart or Goodyear, some of those bigger businesses and things that don't really need your services per se. But, so working on the smaller ones, at least for SEO, those smaller businesses and companies that really need to get out there for what they have to offer. And then looking at seniority level right here, you can decide who you're going to reach out to. Now, I've found over my period of working on this to get in touch directly with the owner. You don't really want to get in people with like the vice president or seniority or things like that, because when it comes down to it, the owners are the people that are going to make the decision if they're going to work with you or not. So they're the ones that you need to connect with and get in touch with. So I always go for owner. And if you click on this, if you click on include, it's going to pull up a lot of people there, and you can even type it in to work on getting more just owners, partners, CEOs, different things like that. So making sure they're the head of the company is who you want to work with. The geography of it, I do United States. You can click on it. You can click on United States. You can, go really who after you want to go after. If you're in a specific state and you don't want to go nationwide, you can just focus on your specific state. You could do that. And then the industry, you can choose the industry that you want to go with. So this is where you can really narrow down on who you're going to get in touch with. So, for me, like I said, I do all of these. So you can see there's construction. You can click on include. Let's see. And then, let's see, there was business services, business consulting. So I'll just type in a few here. Business consulting. You just pretty much type in whatever you want to put in that slot and choose the different industries and things that you want to get a hold of. So this is how you narrow down, because you don't want to contact necessarily just everyone, right? You want to reach out to people that are in your niche and industry that you want them to become clients, right? So that's kind of how you can narrow down the industry there. You can do your connections, and you can also choose if they've posted on LinkedIn recently, so they're actively on LinkedIn. So it's not people that haven't been on for a year, it's people that are recently have made a post. So you can choose that or not choose that. It kind of does narrow it down a little bit. And there's some more filters and things that you can get in touch with, but those are the main ones that I tend to do. And then you can see over here, it pulls up that list of people that you can start connecting with. So what you want to do is start looking at their profiles and see, is this someone that I would want to reach out with? And if it is, then you add them to your list of people to call. So, you can go through and open up their profiles and take a look at them. And then on this one, just for as an example, see, usually what happens is their phone number is here, and their email, their contact information, things like that. You can also make some notes on, after you've talked to them, or a conversation you've had, or just anything that would help you out with information on contacting them. You can look and see, what they do, pretty good information about their site. But the main thing what you want to do is look for their phone number. Most of the time it's there. A lot of times it's a personal number that you can reach them. It's not just their business number. So that's nice that you can actually get a hold of the owner. Sometimes it is the business line, and you do have to call and ask for them and try to get through and things like that. But a lot of times, sometimes if it's not there, if you just go right here and Google, get their business name and their location and then Google it, you can pull it up and it'll pull up on Facebook or BBB or their Google Maps or something like that, and you can get that phone number to be able to get in touch with them easily, or their email address or whatever. But at least they're here and you can message them there on LinkedIn. So those are some ways that you can narrow down your niches on who you want to invite and make connections with. So now, once you've made enough connections, and I go in more detail about, in the course on, how many people I connect with every day, and, it's a routine, it's a method. You connect with about 30 people. You send out connection invites, and then they'll get back in touch with you. And when they do, you can put them into different categories of your lead list. Now, lead lists, this is where you create different lead lists. So you can see, like here, I have SEO2, SEO3, SEO4. So, and I break it down in the course. Now, these are the touches that I'm going to teach you about here. A touch is a way of getting in front of someone that warms them up to be open to talking to you and listening to what you have to say, to the point of even several of them are reaching out to you. And that's great. Sometimes it just works that you do these touches and people are actually reaching out to you, which makes it even easier, right? In sales, typically you have to touch somebody 7 to 8 times before they're ready to take an action. But once they've warmed up and they're ready and open to listen to what you have to say. So I do this in a variety of ways, and I'm going to share that with you now. So one thing, like I mentioned, is those posts. I make those consistent posts in the feed on LinkedIn, so I'm continually in front of them, and it becomes a familiar thing for them to see me every day. Have you ever been around anyone like that? If you go to church or the gym or the store, or you're picking up your kids from school, you start to recognize the people around you that you see almost every day, and that really opens up the floor to conversation. Sometimes you start to introduce yourselves. You might even have small conversations with them, make some new friends, start hanging out, and you might even miss them if they're not there. If you notice, like, that person's not here today. Where are they? I hope they're okay. Maybe something's going on. Maybe I'll see them in a day or two or whatever. So you start to notice when they're not there. So making those intentional posts, people are going to start to notice you. And another thing that I do is I send intentional messages to my connections, to the people that I've connected with. Now, typically for each lead I want to gain, I end up sending about 5 touches, and that's going to warm the person up so that they're willing to check out what I have to offer. And in the course, I take you step by step on exactly how I do this. So let me show you how I do this. So I'm going to go over my touches with you here in just a second, but I just wanted to show you real quick on the course. I have some different ones that you can do, but let me click on the course here for you. I'm going to go over my touches with you, but I just wanted to show you just really quickly on the course here. So you can see here I have the different, like I showed you how to make connections, like specifically really digging in on what to click on and what to look for and who to connect with, different things like that. I'm managing it daily, going into more detail about that. But then the touches, I go over that information in this lesson on all the different touches that I do. I give you all the information on exactly what I'm saying to people in my touches and messages and things like that. So I really take it hand by the hand to show you all this information here. And it took a lot of trial and error and time to figure out and really make it work. And as business owners, that's what we do, right? We work on things until we figure out how to make it successful. So I figured out how many times it takes to reach out to someone to get their attention. I figured out how often I should reach out to them, and it has to be a method of intention. If you do it too frequently, they're going to see you as too aggressive, and that just really puts them off. And if you take too long, then they're going to forget who you are, and they're going to turn cold toward you. So what I do is I do a touch every 2 weeks. Now, some of you guys make this mistake right here. I've noticed that when I've connected with some people, you're immediately hitting me up to pitch your services. And that's too cold. It's ineffective. People want help and advice, and they don't want to be pitched. So like I said before, Sales Navigator is really best to keep it all organized for your touches because you can save the leads, and I organize them into groups. So like I said, here's this leads list here. You can make different lists, create a lead list for the different things. And I do it for my different touches. Like, for example, I'll list it like SEO 1, SEO 2. So that's touch 1, touch 2, touch 3, touch 4. And I date it 2 weeks apart from when I'm going to be reaching out to them. So I'll do SEO 1, and then when I get about 20 to 25 people in there, then I will do the next touch. So then I put them in SEO 2, and like this one you can see for October 8th. And then so I'll message them, and then 2 weeks later it'll be SEO 3. And so just every 2 weeks I'm putting that date on there so I know, like, oh, October 8th I need to go and message these people SEO 2. So I have it all organized on when I need to reach out to people, when I started, and how often I need to get in touch with them. And I save one each organized to the group, and it helps make it faster and with intention and purpose, and it works. So let's get into the touches. So touch 1 is you simply introduce yourself and thank them for connecting, and that's it. That's the only kind of marketing that I do on my touch 1 is my signature with my website link in it. There's no pitch or hint of offering services. It's just simply thanks for connecting with my little website link on there. And then I wait about 2 weeks. And if you do, like I said, if you do another touch sooner, it's going to be too aggressive. But if you wait too long, they're going to forget about you. So about 2 weeks is right that sweet spot there. So touch 2, this is where you're going to offer something free, some free information that's helpful. Now for me, I personally wrote a 2,000-word article about website conversions and put it on my website so that when I do this touch, I'm sharing the article that I've written. And again, I'm not offering services or pitching them. I am just passively getting them to my website. I'm sharing some good information that has the website link for the page I created with that article on it. So my chances of getting them to explore what I offer are definitely going to go up, because if they click on that link to look at the article, that takes them to my website. So then they can navigate around and look at things without me directly pitching them. It's simply directing them to that free and helpful information that can help their business and gets them to look around my site if they have a minute. Now, if you don't have time to write an article, what I did for a little while is I found a high authority and informative, valuable article that somebody else wrote. But then if you think about it, it went to their website. So you can do that and it still works because you're in front of them and it gives that helpful information. But of course, it's better to get them to your website if you can. So that's touch 2. So then, wait about 2 weeks, and then you do touch 3. Now, this is where you're going to offer a service for free. Now, I personally do a free site audit. So if you're not in SEO, there's probably something that you can think of that you can offer for free. If it's just a consultation, just talking to somebody even for, 20 minutes or something like that. Or, looking at doing a free assessment of some sort, or a free inspection, or a free, I don't know. I'm sure you can think of something for free if you're not in SEO in your niche. And if you need help thinking of that, if you want to make an appointment with me and do a consultation, then, we can talk about that and see, well, what could you offer for free? We can figure it out. So there's something for free that you can offer. Information, guidance, just something helpful. So again, I personally do a free website audit. And I know a lot of us do this, right, in SEO, constantly pitching those website audits on how we can fix them right. But I decided to make mine a little bit different. So, of course, I send them a written audit. But rather than just sending out a written explanation, people don't really typically have time to read it, or they feel like it's too technical and they really don't know what all of it is about. So I put together just a quick video that goes over the audit. And I show them the things and point it out because it's helpful and explains to them what all those technical things mean, and it makes it a lot more personal, especially that I took the time to do that for them. They feel a stronger connection with it. So doing an audit like that can be very helpful, and just offering something for free to show someone a little bit of a taste of your expertise, that, okay, you know what you're talking about this and that, and I do have some questions. So that opens up the door for a conversation. Now, moving on to touch 4, I wait 2 weeks, do touch 4, and this touch is optional. You can skip to touch 5, but touch 4 is where I invite people to a webinar, and I do my webinar with the approach of, trying to teach something valuable, trying to share some good information on how they can improve their website or their rankings or things like that. And people walk away having learned something that can help their business, and they really appreciate that. And they're going to be more accepting and communicating with me and being able to hear me out. And, within the course, I show you, how to do some webinars and how to invite people, how to get them all set up and deliver it and things like that. So, that's something that you can do there as well, because a lot of people, you have some good information that you can share. And sometimes you're thinking, oh, I wish more people would know this about my business and have an understanding of this or that. Or people tend to ask the same question repeatedly, right? And you have the answer. So giving that webinar with that information would be a really great thing to do. So then you wait those 2 weeks and you move on to touch 5, the last touch. Now, this is the more direct approach. Now, I don't pitch my services. I don't ask them, do you want my SEO services? And we've been in touch and I do SEO. Do you want it? I don't do it that directly. I invite them to a consultation, and I have very specific wording, so they don't really feel like I'm pitching them. And if you want my wording, exactly, I put it in the course there, but, just ask them to take a look at it. Would you consider it? Would you think about it? And like I said, I put all my scripts and everything in the course exactly what I say word for word. But also, here's another tip. So you're doing these touches 1 through 5, right? So if anybody reaches out to you in between any of these touches, that breaks that cycle, because what happens is you do the touches, touch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that's when you start to reach out to people and say, hey, would you hear what I have to say? But if, after touch 2, if they do the audit, that breaks that cycle. You can go straight to, hey, do you want to hear what I have to say? And answer any questions that they have and start sharing how you can help them. So you don't have to wait and go through all the touches. You can go ahead and reach out to them there. So now that you've been in front of these people daily, you've offered some free advice, you've created a memorable presence, and they've transitioned. It's transitioned from being some cold stranger to a really warm lead who is welcoming to you. Now, when I talk to business owners, they say things to me about, well, how do I approach it differently so that they're willing to listen? I don't do it like other SEO companies, and they appreciate that, and it makes it feel more personal to them. I made time for them. I put them in a position that makes them feel like they're being heard and like I care about them. And sales is a lot about emotions. You don't want to have a relationship with somebody who's cold to you. They give you the cold shoulder. I don't care. You're just another number. We want relationships that make us feel warm and cozy, and you gain that sense of trust, because, like I said, emotions play a big factor in sales. So what you need to understand is that these business owners, just in the same way that we've considered our business to be something that we deeply care about, we put a lot of work into it, nurtured it, cared for it, grew it, and they want to work on it, make it grow and make it better. They want to increase their income. They want to provide for their families, take vacations, get set up for retirement. Everybody has a ton of different motives. And allowing us to do SEO for their business is a very personal thing for them. So this is a method and a strategy that works. It's going to bring you warm leads on a regular basis. And these are people that are open and ready to give you a chance to hear you out what you have to say. So this is to the part where we've done all the touches, and now you have to reach out to them. Some people are going to reach out to you and you can respond to them. Some people, you can message and they'll message you back, and you can go back and forth that way. But another big step is phone calls. So this is another place that people get really hung up on, is reaching out to their leads. So, people go and pay for these lead lists and do all these things to try to reach out to people, and it's all cold and difficult. But you've created this group of people that is really warmed up to you. So you have to follow up with these phone calls to make it easier. And I have a course for that I go over with you exactly how I do my phone calls as well. But you have to understand that business owners are busy. They know that they need SEO. They know that they want whatever it is that you're going to be offering them. And you've narrowed it down to people that are targeted who would be interested in what you have to offer. So now it's time to pick up the phone, and it can be a little bit of a struggle because a lot of people don't want to make calls. A lot of people don't want to answer the phone. And when you're making calls, you really need to do it in a way that's going to be effective to get them on the phone. So you've warmed them up with this LinkedIn method. So when you call, they're most likely already going to know who you are. And they'll already have a warm feeling toward you. Many times when I call someone, I use, that we've connected on LinkedIn to trigger that memory of me. So when I say, hey, this is Jana, we're connected on LinkedIn, they're like, oh yeah, Jana, how are you doing? Yeah, I saw you on there. I'm so happy to talk to you for just a moment. So they'll give you a chance to talk. They'll recognize you and let you have a chance to say what it is that you need to say. And so I reach out in an inviting but not a pushy way to ask them if they'd like to take a look at a proposal. And I do get some no thanks, and that is something that you're going to kind of have to get over. People do say no thanks. But a majority of the time, because of the way that we've done this and made it warm, the majority of the time people are kind rather than rude. And in fact, numerous times people actually feel bad in telling me no thanks. So a lot of times we don't want to do cold calls because people get mad, they hang up on us, it's rude, and it makes us feel really bad. So we don't want to do those cold calls. It's too hard, right? So setting it up this way to do warm leads, it creates that relationship with people where they actually feel bad telling me no. They're, and they give me this long explanation sometimes. And like, no, I already have SEO. I'm really sorry about that. But, I'm really interested in what you have to do and things like that. So they'll give me an easy no, and it's easier to get off the phone. And I also set a daily goal of how many proposals I'm going to try to get out for that day. So I'll usually call for about 3 to 4 hours at the most, and I go somewhere between 2 to 5 leads. And those are the people that want to hear what I have to say. And again, there's a process to sales. You have to be methodical and intentional. So now we've talked about making calls. So let's be ready for when that phone rings. I get a lot of people telling me, make that phone ring. My clients are, make that phone ring. I need my calls. So if you do this, you got to be ready. So if you don't already have a dedicated work number, you're definitely going to need to get one, and you need to answer the phone when it rings. I have a specific ringtone, so when it rings, it forwards to my cell phone. So on my cell phone, it has that ring, so I know, oh, that's a work call. I have to answer it. A lot of people use their personal cell phones and have their calls forwarded, but then they tend to skip over calls, because they forget. Not that they forget, but they just don't really think about it a lot, because if you're out and about doing something and your phone rings and you see something like scam likely showing up, you're like, nah, I'm not going to answer that. But they forget, oh, it could be a forwarded work call or something like that. So what happens is a lot of times people skip over calls without even realizing it. They skip over that call for that sale. So mentioning that scam likely, just so just to give you an example, is one of my kids' teachers messaged all of us parents, and they were like, hey, it's me. My number shows up as scam likely. Please answer the phone when I call or send a text or something. Get back in touch with me, because they the phone companies, they put up this thing about scam likely to help people, but they set these restrictions on it. So if you call somebody so many times and so many people are not answering the phone, or if you call and people deny the call, or if you call and too fast, too many people too fast, or something like that, it will mark your number as scam likely. And that's not always the case of who you are, right? So she was a teacher, she was not a scam, but the phone, it marked her that way. So, it deters you from answering the phone on that scam likely. Now, on your personal number, on your personal phone, like for me, my kids, my husband, my immediate family, things like that have that number. So if I'm getting calls and I don't know who it is, yeah, okay, my personal phone, you don't answer the phone, whatever. But if it's a work call, you definitely want to make sure that you answer it. And a lot of people get really hung up on, oh, it's usually telemarketer calls, so I don't really want to answer the phone for that. So let me just point something out to you there about that. So again, you're not psychic. You don't know who's calling, right? You don't know like, oh, well, I don't recognize that number. They're going to be a customer or not. No, you don't. You don't know. So a lot of times people get hung up on, oh, I get so many telemarketer calls. It interrupts my day. I don't want to answer the phone. And they forget that it could be a potential customer or a client. So thinking about this, if you get 20 calls in a day, and only 3 of them are actually leads, but if they show up in a specific way, you're not going to answer the call and you're going to miss out on it. So if you think about it, the time that it takes to answer a call, if you did like 20 calls and each one is like 3 to 5 seconds, that's about a minute and a half of your day, a couple minutes of your day that you took the time on a telemarketer call. So all it takes is seriously ring, ring, ring. Hey, US SEO Services. Yeah, telemarketer call. This is some information I want to see. And I'm like, oh, no thanks. I don't need that. Click. So what you might think would be a telemarketer could be a potential sale. Sometimes it's even a surprise, because people call from work. They call from different places. They're at work during the day too. So they might call you from their place of business and it shows up like City of Akron or whatever, and you're like, who the heck is calling? Why is it city? That's a wrong number. No, it's not. It might not be. It might be somebody that's at work and they're just on their break taking a minute to call you and saying, hey, I need an attorney. Hey, I need some construction services. Hey, I need this or that. I need to make a doctor's appointment. Whatever it is, you never know. So always pick up your sales phone, because then at that moment, it gives you that opportunity to be able to have a potential conversation with a potential customer, and you definitely don't want to miss out on what could be a sale. Another thing that I talk about is pricing, and I teach this in the course about how to set your pricing, because that's very important and it's a really big struggle, especially for SEO people. You really have to know your audience. In SEO, we tend to think that just because they're a business that they're going to have a ton of money to spend on SEO. And in fact is, they have a budget that they decided to spend on advertising. But by us being able to stay in that budget, it makes SEO doable for them. And it all adds up. If you can, let's relate it to keyword search volume. when you rank for a handful of the smaller volume keywords, that ends up to hundreds of searches. So in the same way, by being willing to set your pricing within the budget that a business is willing to stipend, your client payments, that's going to all add up to make that larger income. And you can get my course. It's just a one-time fee of $99. I have my LinkedIn course, and I've pulled it up here for you to see. There's some other things that I've learned from my experience over the years that I share with you here too. So I have some other courses on here, like how to follow up with leads, how to retain your clients, how to set your pricing, different things like that. Sales, how to do get sales, daily habits that you should have, different things like that. So if you follow some of these steps and go along with it, and if you work on this LinkedIn method on creating warm leads that you can really get their attention and give that sales pitch to, give them that information about what you have to offer them, that really opens up the door to create a lot of good contacts and a lot of good information. And you can really create a strong client base and increase your income drastically. So now let's get to the Q&A. Some of you have put some of the questions in the chat, so let's spend another 10 or 15 minutes going through those. But before I do that, let me just say again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm confident that this is going to help you put some good things into practice. So now let's get to some questions.